Turning now over back to the U.S., over to the very latest on the case about President Donald Trump, the former president there, scheduled to appear by video at a hearing sometime today, where the judge in his Manhattan criminal case is expected to go over the conditions of a protective order barring the former president from using evidence to attack witnesses in public statements and on social media. Prosecutors and Trump's lawyers will be in court while Trump is shown there on a courtroom monitor. To talk more about this, I will now want to bring in Andrew Lieb. He's an expert attorney following the very latest on this case and many more. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is interesting and enlightening for everyone, what happens behind the scenes in a courtroom.
No doubt, especially when you're talking about the former president of the United States showing up in a courtroom, always making big headlines in that. Getting down to the brass tacks of this, one big question I had was, is it a big surprise after the show we saw just a few weeks ago that Trump won't be in court today?
I think that it makes the most sense for everyone involved. And you talk about the show, but let's just talk about security risk. There's no need to have the Secret Service and people rallying outside and making a spectacle, because you got to remember the courtroom's operating for so many people in so many different courthouses. So it's not just one judge, there's lots of judges. And more importantly, today's hearing is really just going over the terms of a protective order. It's not like there's affirmative rights one way or the other. This order's from about 2 weeks ago already. So it's just the judge making sure Donald Trump understands the terms of his order, because he's hoping no one breaks it and we could just move forward with a very smooth trial.
Now, do you think that the president would actually listen to any orders that comes out from the judge, and what are some of the things that we might expect?
I'm trying not to laugh as you ask the question, because to predict what Donald Trump is going to do, I don't even know Donald Trump knows what Donald Trump is going to do. So I have no idea. But what I could tell you is that there's very serious ramifications if you don't follow a judge's order. You could go to contempt. They could give you warnings. They could sanction your attorneys. There could be all sorts of problems. And what's, I think, most interesting isn't the headline of he can't talk to social media and everything else. It's about the procedure. You see, you're going to get some information, Donald Trump, but some of the information the judge is still going to have to review in the future. Oh, and the stuff that went into this application, that's all sealed, Donald Trump. So I think this is more of a procedural method to move forward in the case. And I would hope and I would implore, I would actually beg Donald Trump, I think you should really follow the judge's order here, because he's setting you up for failure. I recommend anyone litigating before a judge, when the judge tells you not to put out information, take his invitation to appeal it or listen to every word of it.
And in the event that he doesn't follow the order, which may be likely here, any repercussions for the former president?
Yeah. If you don't follow a judge's order, first of all, they can give you monetary sanctions. But this is a criminal trial. He could revoke his bail. He could say, hey, listen, you got to go to jail pending this. He could do all sorts of things moving forward. And you see, Donald Trump and his legal team have a right to get discovery. And let's put this out there. This is not like a general gag order that says, Donald Trump, don't talk. This is called a protective order, and it's actually in section 245.70 of the CPL. That's the criminal procedure law. Why am I pointing out the section? Because it's very standard in criminal law and actually even in civil law, when you disclose information to the other side, to keep it confidential. I have lots of corporate clients, and they don't want their stuff spilled publicly. In this case, the judge doesn't want the evidence to be tried publicly. He also doesn't want the names of witnesses out there or people in law enforcement out there. This is a case management situation. And if judge allows Donald Trump to get away with it, he's not just allowing this defendant, this former president, to get away with it. He's undermining the fabric of the court, where no one will want to give discovery into the future. It's very important that the judge adheres to his order and sanctions Donald Trump if he does not follow forward.
But meanwhile, we also know that Donald Trump is running on the ticket now for the 24 presidential race. So how does that impact then his ability then to campaign? And we know that that's just one of the tactics that the former president likes to use, which is going after his political opponents?
Well, I think he's going to reframe this, and this is going to be a way he's going to raise money, and he's going to campaign on this. He's going to frame this as a gag order. He's going to come out there and saying the system, the judge, everyone's corrupt, and they're stopping me from being able to go forward, and he's going to rally his base around it. Because you see, when you don't actually read the details of this 4-page protective order, it could be misconstrued in so many ways. But as a matter of First Amendment protection, which is what I think you're getting at here, and his freedom of speech, I don't see his freedom of speech being curtailed whatsoever. The judge isn't saying he can't talk about what's in the public already. The judge isn't saying he can't talk about why he disagrees with the charges. All the judge is saying is you can't discuss evidence that the prosecutors are sharing with you, and you can't discuss the people involved in the case during the case. And I don't think that's such a big restraint. And in fact, in 1991, the US Supreme Court had ruled that except for the media, First Amendment is really not a big thing that we can apply when a defendant is restricted in disclosing material about a case. Because again, we need an organized and efficient judiciary. So I think Trump is going to use this. He's going to change the narrative, shift the issue. But in all, I don't see it really restraining him.
Meanwhile, a lot of eyes on this case. What comes up next? What happens after today?
Well, as you alluded to before, it could very easily be that Donald Trump breaks the order. It could be his attorneys break the order. One of the things I found most interesting about the order is it allows his attorneys to get some information and then share it with Donald. And I could see his attorneys getting in trouble for sharing things too quickly without the judge approving certain information, particularly when it comes to forensic about cell phones. They go into that in this order, and that could be a big problem. Alternatively, it says in the order it gives Donald Trump a chance to appeal the order. I wouldn't be surprised if he appeals the order. Beyond that, it's just going to be the regular routine of a criminal trial. We're going to have these disclosures. Oh, and then Donald Trump's lawyers are going to look at these disclosures, and they're going to say, how do we get these suppressed? That means thrown out, not admitted into evidence. That's the key to a criminal defense. How do we get rid of the prosecutor's evidence? And that's the next ballgame.
All right, Andrew Lieb, attorney there, breaking down all things we need to know about this case of Trump, due back in Manhattan court by video today. Andrew, any closing thoughts?
I think that we need to take this away from Donald Trump in our heads for a second and understand that this isn't the judge silencing Donald Trump. This is the judge saying that we need to be able to have the people, the prosecutors, disclose evidence without getting risk that the jury's going to get tainted and or witnesses and people and the prosecutors are going to get hurt. This applies across the board, and that's why there's a section in the criminal procedure law to do exactly what the judge did and what he's explaining to Donald Trump today. Thank you so much.
Andrew Lieb, thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
A pleasure.